Welcome to Center Stage. My name is Mark Gordon. In 2011, Josh Stolberg joined me center stage to talk about making the romantic comedy Conception.
Center stage, center stage, center, center, center stage. Center stage.
I'd been a huge fan of horror since I was a little kid. I was the guy that instead of having, Farrah Fawcett on my bedroom wall, it was Michael Myers with the big, big steak knife. My parents, were very worried about me for a while until I got into film and realized that that's what I was attracted to.
I mean, what is it about the horror genre?
For me, it's like it's a roller coaster ride. It's the ability to feel like you've experienced death or near death, and you make it through alive, unscathed. So for me, it's like a roller coaster in the movie theater.
Now you go from that to now doing a romantic comedy.
Yes.
Quite a switch.
Well, for me, it was about, I got my start working as a director in theater from college, and I never kind of lost my love for directing. And what I love about directing is kind of less the visual stuff, but more working with actors and trying to find those very real moments that that you can connect with as humans. So for me, it was about getting a chance to work with some great actors and being able to cast anyone I want. When you're making a low-budget film like this, you really have a lot of creative freedom, and you're not kind of tied into the marketing and the poster and what's the log line. And having worked in this business for about 10 years now as a professional screenwriter, most of my jobs are about what's the catch, what's the catchphrase, what's the set piece. And I was given a lot of creative freedom to make, a personal movie about relationships, and that's what really kind of brought me to it.
We've all seen the films, like The Harry Met Sally, or just these comedies that seem like they try a little bit too hard to be cute and clever.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you put together something that won't insult the audience?
Well, it's hard, and I don't know if I've successfully done it, but. For me, it's about creating some kind of realism and something that people can connect with. I think a lot of times those romantic comedies that come out, you're going for such a broad audience and you want to please everybody. And in doing so, you kind of dilute the product down into something that's just too goofy and too silly. And the nice thing about Conception for me was I wasn't really concerned about pleasing people. There are definitely some relationships within the movie. It's about 9 different couples, all in different, on the evening that they conceive their children. And there are many couples that I think people are not going to relate to because you kind of see their more selfish sides. And that's not something you usually see in advanced Chinese theater.
Josh, what constitutes success for you?
For me, yes, I could say just kind of creative freedom. Some of the directors that I really, really respect, like a Steven Soderbergh or someone like that. One of my first favorite films was Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and I actually kind of borrowed a lot of the stuff that he played with in that movie for Conception. But there's a guy that can, go off and make this huge movie like Ocean's 11 and get to play with all the toys that the big studios provide you with. But then he goes off and does The Girlfriend Experience for, $100,000 or it was probably more than that. But he shot that movie on the red camera, which is the exact same camera we shot our film on. So, and he does anything he wants. So, that's the kind of thing for me that would, signify success.
You helmed this picture as a director as well as a writer. New experience for you, huh?
Definitely. For the last 10 years or so, I've been working regularly as a screenwriter. But I've done a couple of small films. I made a small film called Kids in America about 6 years ago, and then another movie called Life Coach that came out about 2 years ago. This is the first one that was kind of all me as far as writing and directing. So it's the first one I feel like it really came, like, if you hate this movie, you don't like my sensibility. And if you like this movie, then we're kind of more simpatico.
Well, one thing that's nice about it, I mean, it's written the way people really speak.
That's what I was kind of hoping for. Yes, you want to keep it fun and you want to throw in some clever lines every once in a while. But I wanted it to feel, kind of to have an emotional truth to it at least. And it's hard finding that kind of balance. There's a lot of that, I forget, mumblecore, I guess they call it now, which is mumblecore, which is that movement in films where they just kind of make up the lines as they go and they try to keep it as realistic as humanly possible. And for me, some of those films don't entirely work because I want it to be elevated a little bit. Like I want to remember a couple of lines, and so this was trying to find a good balance between the two.
Some call it mumblecore. I call it a home movie.
Yeah, I can see that. There have been those films that I've really liked. There was this movie called Primer a couple of years ago that I thought was pretty cool. But
that was a very small film. Didn't it play at the LA Film Festival or something?
I believe it did. Yeah. I believe it did. But yeah, I tried to keep, but also part of it is less me and more the actors. I mean, I wound up casting these amazing actors who, was blessed to have, between, the Connie Britton from Friday Night Lights and Julie Bowen from Modern Family, and a lot of really close friends. This great woman named Jennifer Jostin, who was in Brothers McMullen, and it was fun also because I got to work with my family. My wife is in the film, Lila Charles Lee, and she does a fantastic job. She also co-produced the movie with Stephanie Sharon, and my kids are in the film. I got to put my kids in the film, which was really exciting. Yeah,
and also too, I mean, you focus on just a kind of a wide like cloth of America too. I mean, you have different types of couples. It's not just your upper middle class pasty.
Yeah. No, well, thank you for saying that, and that was definitely important to me. Part of it was I wanted to try to hit as many different kind of aspects of conception as I possibly could. You've got the kids, the kids that have never had sex before, doing it for the first time in the car. I like the bargaining. I like the negotiation. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, she promises to have sex with him if he gives up meat because she thinks it's cruel that he eats hamburgers. So that never happened to me, but that would have been fun to be, 15.
Come on, I'm going vegan for that. I'll become a breatharian.
Good.
Well, the other thing about actually directing your own piece is I've heard horror stories where writers, they'll put something together and then Hollywood takes over and they take away the script. I mean, I remember this story about Free Willy. It was like all over the map with people starting to write it, and then they changed it, and
it's happened to me. I wrote this one film. I wrote this one script. I didn't write the film. I wrote the script. It was called Passion of the Ark, and it was right after Passion of the Christ came out, and we sold this film that was about a guy. I wrote it with my writing partner Bobby Florsheim, and it was about a guy who builds an ark, and his neighbors think he's crazy, and he loads up all the animals and it turned into Evan Almighty. So the studio bought the script. The director came on board, hired his usual, screenwriter to rewrite it, and it was so severely rewritten that we didn't even get credit on the final film. So we got paid for the script. The studio paid us because they bought the script, but then it got so drastically rewritten we lost all credit. Like our name is not on the poster, I think that our script was, possibly better than the finished product. But it happens all the time. I mean, and this was the thing that really excited me about Conception was this is mine. Like every word, every moment was, I had, the say, and it was really exciting because of that.
Do you think it's more important for you to like the work or for it to be popular?
It's a tricky question. It's a good question. I would say it's more for the audience at the end of the day, because you don't want to masturbate on the screen, you don't want it just to be about you, because then you're alien. I don't want to alienate people with this, but I didn't find it necessary to please every single person watching the film. I mean, there are definitely going to be people that are going to feel like there's a lot of talk in there that probably would be upsetting to my grandmother. I can't show my grandmother the film at all. She sticks with the cartoons that I write. So, but yeah, you got to do a little bit of both, I think.
So tell me what's next for you.
Well, I'm writing a couple of different projects for studios. I'm doing To Catch a Thief for Paramount and Neil Moritz with Bobby. We're doing a remake of that film. We turned the script into the studio not too long ago, and are hoping that it gets turned into a big, kind of tentpole movie. It was a film that I loved as a kid, and it was really exciting to write that kind of a film, which I've never done before. And then I'm also doing with my other writing partner, the guy I wrote Piranha and Sorority Row with, Pete Goldfinger. We're doing a children's movie next. So if you can imagine going from Piranha 3D to Skippy John Jones, it's a children's book that my kids absolutely love, and I'm really excited about it.
Do you think when you do different genres of film, that keeps you from being, because a writer can be typecast, wouldn't you say, and a director?
100%. Yeah, and I talked to my agent a lot about this too. I think sometimes a lot of agents, they want to be able to sell you in a certain way. So you're the guy that writes comedy, you're the guy that writes horror, you're the kind of guy that writes children's stuff. And luckily, my agent's been very supportive about letting me kind of blossom out and explore, conceptions of very different movie from like Good Luck Chuck, which I did too. They couldn't be, they're both basically romantic comedies, but they couldn't be more different.
So what keeps you motivated to continually push the envelope of your writing?
I've it's always been about storytelling. It's always about wanting to tell a different aspect of my life, like something like Conception. Even though it's about 9 different couples, I would say that 80% of the dialogue came verbatim out of conversations I had with my wife. Like, Lila and I, when we were trying to conceive one of our children, we were in the middle of a huge fight at the time, but she was ovulating, so we had to kind of push right through and have sex anyway. And that was actually one of the things that I thought about when I started thinking about what kind of story can I tell on such a low budget. And I got to keep keep it small, keep it contained. It has to take place in a bedroom, in a bathroom, in a kitchen. I can invite my friends out to do these parts, but I can't ask them to come in for 2 weeks. I can ask them to come in for 1 day. So that's how the whole thing happened, where we have 9 different couples and one kind of scene that bookends the movie, and we shot the film in 10 days. So every scene was shot in a day. So we shot 1 day with Johnny Silverman and Jen Finnegan, his real life wife. We shot 14 pages in a day, which is unheard of, in a feature film.
Besides the time restraints, what was your biggest challenge making the film?
Time restraints were definitely difficult. For me, it was kind of making it work and feel professional on that kind of a budget. On one hand, it was really exciting and there was a lot of freedom to it. But on the other hand, you're working, you're having to ask for a lot of favors and reach out to your friends and people who you don't know and say, please, this will be worth your while, I promise. That was the most difficult. There have been movies that I've been on where the catering budget over the course of a week was more money than we spent on our entire film.
What would you like an audience to go away with after they see Conception?
Oh, wow. I made the film so that people could kind of see that we've been told this fantasy of where we come from. It's this, 2 people love each other and they have this wonderful moment together and they make love. And for me, it was being able to say, look, this is kind of a fairy tale. It's a fantasy. Most of us were not planned from a standpoint of tonight's the night we're making, young Mark. Mark is being made tonight. It was in the middle of a fight. It was in the middle of crazy drunken sex one night. It was one of my favorite scenes in the movie is with Connie Britton and Jason Mantzoukas, and it's a couple that's desperately trying to have a child, and it's not about love. It's not about making love. It's about getting the right basal body temperature and making sure that my hips are elevated for the 30 minutes required, and we have to make it out to the Jacobsons for dinner in time. But you know, it's so not about love. But yet, when you kind of look back at all of these stories, I'm hoping that you still say, even though it's not all about making love in the fairy tale way, there's something really special about all these relationships.
Well, that's just about that couple too, because he's kind of a little bit indifferent.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, well, look, I'm not a machine. I just can't perform.
Yeah.
But you really get the sense is when it happens for them, you can see the look on his face. I mean, it's it's really beautiful, but it's it is so clinical in the beginning. It's like, we have to do it this way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. The actors really brought so much to that scene. And at the beginning, you're right. It's you know, she actually yells screaming at him that, you know, he masturbated in the shower that morning and is worried that he's not going to be able to perform, and she's going crazy on him. But then at the end, you know, they're lying there together, and there's this very emotional moment where she says, "I just want to have a baby." And actually, after we screened it in Boston, I got this really amazing email this morning from someone I have no idea who she was, but she wrote saying that she was really touched by that scene in particular because she and her husband had gone through the exact same thing and spent 7 years trying to have a kid. And she, you know, she said that, you know, during that moment, she just burst out crying in the theater because she's so connected with that kind of moment. So I'm hoping to be able to connect with people, you know, and everybody will connect with a different, you know, couple. But I'm hoping that, you know, you find your couple in there.
Where are you in this film? Is it a little bit of you everywhere?
It really is a little bit of everything. You know, it's, you know, the couple that's been married too long and, you know, and find sex to be a chore sometimes. And
oh, yeah. I love the one. Can you take a bath? Can you bathe? Well, we're just going to sweat anyway.
Exactly.
What's the big deal?
Exactly. I'm always, I'm very upset with my wife when she expects me to bathe after a long day.
I used to have a girlfriend that would say, no, we had to put a towel down.
Yes.
A towel down.
Yes.
And then one time we went camping.
Right.
How great is that? We're camping, man.
Yeah.
It's under the stars.
Yeah.
But no, it was too dirty. You know, we couldn't clean up. We couldn't clean up first.
That's great. I'll be using that in my sequel, Conception 2.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta get in there and you know,
exactly,
play it when it happens.
Exactly.
Well, Josh, do you have any closing thoughts about Conception? I guess what I want to ask you, what do you think was your one takeaway from this experience making this film?
For me, you know, it really is just about the excitement of working with actors and getting a chance to feel like you're telling a story about real life. You know, I've made so many of these movies and I love them. I love Piranha. I love Sorority Row, which I did. I have so much fun making those movies. But to me, being able to find that one moment, like you just said, with Connie and Jason lying in the bed and just having that feeling of, wow, there's a connection there, and you feel that emotional moment. To me, that's what filmmaking is all about. And I appreciate you saying that you felt that in the film. And I hope we can get the film out there so more people can feel that.
If you would like more information about Josh Stolberg, visit joshstolberg.com. Until next time, this is Mark Gordon, and I'll see you center stage.
Center stage, center stage, center, center, center stage. Center stage.
Hello, this is Homer Simpson. Whenever I want to know what's going on in the entertainment world, I listen to Center Stage with Mark Gordon.